So good afternoon, everybody. Today we are going to talk about Facebook advertising, kind of a 101 approach to it. Just get the basics and the foundation of Facebook advertising, what it is, and how to use it for your business. In case you haven't been on a webinar with me before, my name is Max Sadlowski. I'm the CEO of BentoSMB out of Kingston, Ontario. We help clients all over the world with e-commerce and different business websites. And one of the pieces that a lot of businesses we deal with look at Facebook advertising and using Facebook advertising to promote their products, to promote their services, to promote their businesses. Today, we're going to talk about a lot of different topics related to Facebook ads. Some of these are going to be things that you already know, but having a good foundation is going to be really important to understanding how to use Facebook marketing and just generally kind of diving into it a little bit more. So what we're going to talk about today is Facebook advertising. What is it? We're going to talk about business pages and organic reach through Facebook. We're going to talk about boosting posts versus creating ads from scratch. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen the boost post button that shows up on your business page sometimes. So we'll talk about that and how it relates to creating ads. We're going to talk about the different places that Facebook ads can actually be shown. So Facebook, Instagram, Audience Network, and Messenger, all of those are built right into the Facebook advertising platform. We're going to talk about the Facebook Pixel and remarketing on Facebook and what that is and how to do it. And then we're going to talk about the Facebook advertising structure, as well as build an actual ad, a full demo that'll take us about 20 minutes to go through. So a few kind of housekeeping pieces here just about the platform that we're using. This is called Big Marker. We use it for our webinars, and there's a few things that it does really nicely for us. One, it's recording this webinar right now for us. So after we're all done, we'll post a recording of it. So if anybody misses it or you want to rewatch any of the pieces that we talked about today, you can freely do so using the same link that you used to join the call. There's also a PDF of all the slides in this webinar. If you go to handouts in the right-hand panel, you'll see that PDF of the slides. So everything that you're seeing on your screen right now is there. We also have the ability to take questions and answers. So on the right-hand side, you'll also see at the top next to polls and handouts, the Q&A area. So if you have any questions, please feel free to throw those in there anytime during the webinar. I'm not going to look at them until the very end of the webinar, and we'll go through each of them. But if you have something as we're talking, please feel free to add that in there. And number 4 is polls. So I have a few polls that I'm going to show you throughout the webinar. I have a total of 3. One of them I'm going to release right now and get you all to take a look at it, and then we'll go into the first part of Facebook. So the question is, how does Facebook primarily make money? So while you're answering that, I'm going to kind of give the answer away here. This is just a quick video clip from when Mark Zuckerberg, who's the CEO of Facebook, was testifying in front of the Senate in the United States.
Well, if so, how do you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
Senator, we run ads.
I see. That's great.
So that clip was kind of a bit infamous when it first came out, and when those proceedings were happening, because most people, as I've seen in the in the poll here, know that Facebook makes its revenue or makes a lot of its money by selling ads, by selling the information that they use to send out ads. Now, I threw a couple tricks in that particular poll. So the first one was by selling user data to advertisers. This is a big one that Facebook doesn't actually do. They never sell user data. They keep it all to themselves, and they allow you to showcase ads based on that data that they've collected. B is kind of a little bit of a tricky one as well. By collecting revenues from ads they place on their site, they don't technically take any revenue from the ads they place on their site. They sell the advertising space, and that's why C is the correct answer. So how does Facebook make money? They do that by selling ads. Facebook essentially only sells ads to generate income and run the platform. There's a few other things that they do to make a little bit of money, but generally it's all about advertising. Marketers like yourselves will go in and build campaigns based around anonymized data. So you never know exactly who's doing what on your website or exactly who has an interest in this particular item or this particular thing. You just know that it's anonymized data and you're able to advertise to them. Facebook itself is also a passive advertising platform. What that means is that nobody is necessarily searching for your product or services, but an ad will show up in front of them based on their interests, their demographics, who they are, what they've done on the platform. This is a stark contrast to something like Google advertising, where Google advertising is somebody puts in a search term to buy Nike shoes and they get ads specifically related to that particular search. Facebook collects a lot of information. We don't necessarily know every different data point that they collect, but generally we know that they collect and allow advertisers to target ads based on a few kind of main areas. The first one's demographics. So your age, your gender, your marital status, ethnicity, location, language spoken, anything that can relate to exactly who you are. And this is typically information that you've supplied the platform with when you signed up. So all of that content is in there. Next one is behaviors. So what type of behaviors do these people have? Are they having a baby soon? Have they had kids? How old are those children? Mobile device type. So if they're on iOS versus Android versus Windows Phone. If they have an anniversary coming up, you can actually advertise directly to people that have an anniversary within 30 to 60 days coming up. So those are another few areas that you can advertise to. Interests, again, are based on the interactions with the platform. So if you go on Facebook and start talking about how you had this great blueberry muffin this morning, your interest in blueberry muffins are going to increase for Facebook, and there's a good chance that you may end up seeing ads related to blueberry muffins or something that's targeted towards that. Maybe Tim Hortons would end up putting an ad out for that. The last one is website interactions. So products that have been viewed, different pages on your sites, things that are subscribed to, so people that click on a newsletter link or specific other button presses, adding products to their carts, things like that can trigger information going back to Facebook, and you can then advertise on those areas. So let's talk about business pages and organic reach. Business pages are a must for any business, and anybody that's doing advertising needs to have a Facebook business page. It's one of the top places that people go to verify a business still to this day, and a lot of searches for businesses start on Facebook. It's really easy to set up. Maintenance is critical. A few tips for the maintenance. So making sure you're posting at least once a week, reviewing your business details at least once a month and keeping things up to date. Making sure you're posting closures and changes to when you're available, when you're not available. Adding images and content that apply to your business. So if you are a salon, adding photos of the salon, including photos of different treatment types or maybe a massage or something like that. And then the last piece is getting a bunch of reviews. So having people review your products and services on your Facebook business page can be a very helpful piece for people who are looking to identify if your business is legitimate or not. So the second column there is depth of organic reach. Previously, when Facebook started about 5 years ago, 6 years ago still, you were able to post to your business page, and that would go out to all of the people that had followed your pages, and organically it would go out to people and they would see it in their feeds. That's not really possible anymore. For the most part, you don't get very good organic reach, and it's because Facebook has turned into a pay-to-play model. If you want to reach new clients, a lot of times even past clients, you're going to need to do that with a paid ad. Facebook makes all of its money through ads, so they're pushing them more and more, and it's becoming a saturated area of Facebook. So organic reach has steadily decreased, so understanding Facebook advertising is really, really helpful. So it's a good thing that you're on the call today. So boosting a post versus creating a post. Most of you will have seen this before on Facebook, where you're on your business page and underneath any post that you've previously put out is a big blue button that says boost this post. And when you click on that, it's going to give you a few different options, and it'll allow you to set a budget and pay for that budget, and out the ad will go. Typically, this is not something we recommend. And the reason why is because boosting is a very simplified way of advertising. And when you boost, the campaign and ad set and ad are all created for you. However, they don't give you a lot of information. They don't give you a lot of ability to make changes to that. You can't set up different ad types. There's a lot of pieces that are missing from that section. So, like I said, limitations are the ability to select an audience, interest levels, and demographics. It only allows you to create one ad and it matches your post, which means that you might not be able to create the ad type that you want. It's only going to allow for one ad set as well. So it means there's limited learning between different targeting options within the platform. There's very minimal analytics, meaning proving any kind of return on investment is going to be hard. If you put $50 into a boosted post, it's hard to tell exactly how much money you're getting out of it. It's also very difficult to copy and duplicate results when you're boosting posts. So let's talk about the different areas of Facebook advertising. When you think of Facebook advertising, a lot of people think of Facebook on its own, not about the other areas that you can connect with. So there's 4 main distinct areas within Facebook advertising that you can advertise to: Facebook, Instagram, their audience network, and now Messenger. Facebook itself has, I think, 5 or 6 different areas: the mobile feed, the desktop feed, the right sidebar. They now have stories built into Facebook as well. The marketplace, which is essentially Kijiji through Facebook, as well as some other areas like in-stream videos and suggested videos. So on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the main desktop newsfeed is the main one there. To the right of it is a right-hand sidebar, and then on the far right on the mobile phone is a desktop, or a mobile newsfeed. A lot of these ads generally are for older demographics. Teens and 20s are much less frequent users of Facebook. A lot of them still use Messenger, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but generally Facebook is not as highly used by that demographic. As I said, ads come in many different shapes and sizes, so they can be large like they are on the desktop, and then kind of more vertical on the mobile phones. With all that said, news feeds are still the highest location of interaction for a lot of new ads, and the right sidebar is the highest for remarketing purposes. So let's talk about Instagram. Instagram is a crazy platform. It's explosive in terms of the amount of growth it has had over the last 3 to 5 years. And Facebook bought it a number of years ago for a large sum of money. However, it's worth a lot more than what they paid for it now. Advertising in Instagram is pretty straightforward. There's really only 2 places that you can do that: in feeds and in stories. The audience for Instagram is basically everybody, all ages, all demographics use it. Obviously, teens and the younger audience are more engaged with Instagram, but the older demographics are also starting to play a part in Instagram. Ads are typically one of 2 sizes. They're either fully vertical phone screen, so they take up the entire screen of the phone, or they're appearing in something like a feed and it's a square or 16:9 image. Story ads are gaining popularity, but the competition for that placement is getting harder and harder. So it means that it's getting more and more expensive to jump in there. Generally, Instagram is a great platform for remarketing, particularly if you're doing anything where somebody can buy something on your website. So e-commerce based products do very well on Instagram. Let's talk about the audience network and Messenger as well. Audience network is available in a bunch of different types, so native connections, banners, in-stream videos, as well as reward videos. So if you've ever played a game and you get some coins for watching a video, sometimes those are coming from the audience network through Facebook. You can extend the reach into apps and other websites through the audience network. So a lot of developers will actually build in the audience network into their app and use that as a way to generate revenue for themselves, but also show the ads that you are looking to show. This type of network is not really limited to demographics either, because again, it's going into areas that are actually kind of outside of Facebook. So even though they don't use Facebook, it can still be showing to them in an app where they want to see an ad. Audience network also is typically focused on high quality video ads and can be used with remarketing as well. The last one, which is kind of the new kid on the block, is Messenger. So you're able to put ads into the inbox and sponsored messages through Messenger. Both of them allow you to connect with users through Facebook. Messenger is used by all ages, all demographics. It's not limited to older generations. And there's lots of people that have just the Facebook Messenger app installed on their phone and not Facebook itself. There's a lot of people that use Messenger constantly to communicate with others instead of using text messaging or WhatsApp or something like that. It's a really great tool for remarketing, as well as using it as a notification system for abandoned carts or new promotions that are happening. So for example, you may have a bunch of people that have come to your site and chatted to you through Facebook Messenger. You can then go back and advertise to those people and say, we have a new promotion, we have this new product, or you've added something to your cart. Why don't you go ahead and use a 20% off coupon to check out? This area is relatively new. It's unsaturated and it's unused as much as the other areas. There's definitely lots of people using it, but not as much as everywhere else. So it's a great place if you're looking to do some experimentation with advertising. Next, let's talk about the Facebook Pixel. So the Facebook Pixel is a small piece of code that Facebook will generate for you. I'm going to show you how to actually go ahead and generate a pixel and what you can do with it. But basically, it's a small amount of code that you install on your website, and it goes on every single page of your website. So you usually put it in the header. A lot of tools like Shopify or Wix or Weebly or WordPress or any of those different website builders have a spot where you can actually just put in the pixel ID and it'll automatically insert it where it needs to go on your site. What this does is it ensures that as people visit your website, they're tracked in Facebook. What this means is that if I am logged into Facebook in my browser, which most people are that use Facebook, are already logged in their browser, and they visit a website, that website then reports back to Facebook that that person was there. And that's all done behind the scenes and automatically very, very quickly. There's additional pieces that can be added here as well. So not just are they on my site, but we can know what pages they were on the site. We can know what buttons they clicked. We can know what products they added to a cart. We can know what promotions they took a look at. We can even know how far down a page they scrolled or if they watched a video on the site. This can be really, really powerful for you as an advertiser. So for example, if you were to review a certain product on your site, you can create ads for that promotion and show them those ads specifically. So this is, again, an example of what we call remarketing, which is just showing ads to people that have already shown interest or previously interacted with your marketing before. So another example, and I'll show this example in our demo of building the ad. We're going to create an ad focused on farming and generating some interest in getting people to come out to a farmer's market. Each week, you may have different promotions or you may have different vendors at that farmer's market, and you can advertise that on a landing page or a specific page on your website. And as people come to that particular page and look at that particular item, you now know they have an interest in the farmer's market. So the following week or the following 2-week period, you can advertise to them again, specifically just those people, giving them a little bit more information about that particular week's farmer's market directly in the ad. And that can remarket and help them come out to the farmer's market more often. So I'm going to start another poll here as well. The question is, What is needed to allow you to remarket on Facebook to people who has visited your website? So it looks like there's a bit of a battle between B and C, so the Facebook pixel and all of the above. And both are kind of technically correct. The Facebook pixel is absolutely what you need to track individual users and what they're doing on your site. However, without a Facebook ad account and without a custom audience and without a business Facebook page, you're not going to get very far with that information. There's no real point of tracking people if you're not going to then use that information to be able to actually advertise to those people. So we're going to go through all those pieces, but definitely having just the Facebook pixel installed is what's needed. But the Facebook ad account, custom audience, and the business Facebook page is definitely going to help you actually do something with that information. So before we jump in the demo, I want to talk about the structure of Facebook ads. Like most modern ad platforms, you'll see this in Google Ads as well as other advertising systems around the world. There's kind of three levels to a particular campaign or a particular ad that you want to put out. The top one is a campaign. And I like to think of this as a folder that contains everything related to that particular area. So maybe the campaign that we're going to do is specifically related to advertising a farmer's market that's happening in September, October. Underneath that, we have ad sets, and you can have multiple ad sets within a campaign. At the ad set level, we do our targeting and our budget and a few other things. And this is specifically related to who we're going to talk to or who we're going to try to reach out to, where they're located, what interests they have, what are their demographics, how much money are we willing to spend to actually send out ads to these people. All of that is done on that ad set level. Inside every ad set, you can have multiple ads as well. So you can see how this branches out very quickly into a lot of different ads. Each ad is where you're actually going to specify where that person would be taken to when they click on your ad. What's the text in that ad? What's the image or video or slider or whatever you're going to put inside that ad? All of those pieces that are actually shown to the end user are all put in the particular ad area. So as an example, like I said, we're going to talk about having a family farm and that farmer's market. We might want to have 3 different ad sets that focus on targeting 3 different areas or 3 different demographics or types of people. One is local moms, 25 to 45. Another one's school teachers, because we want to have schools come out and visit the family farm. And then the other one are tourists, so people that aren't local, that are maybe 45 to 65 and are going to be visiting the area. Underneath that, each of those will have separate ads. And as I've kind of labeled them, the ads for local moms will be different than school teachers, and the ads will be different for the tourists. So you're creating kind of different sets of ads, and then each of those ads are in that ad set. So I have the last poll before we go into the demo. If you're wanting to set up an ad for a new product line you're launching and want to advertise to young audiences in your area, at what level of the advertising system would you add this information? All right, so B was the kind of the winner there at the ad set level, and that's correct. All of the targeting that you do, including where you're going to have the ad placed, all of the information about demographics, interests, who those people are, what they do, it's all at that ad set level. And don't worry, if you don't know that yet, we're going to take a look at the demo and it'll be crystal clear. So let's take a look at the demo next. While I'm going to go through the majority of the things that you're going to see in this demo, there's going to be a lot of things that we're not going to talk about until the next webinar that we're doing in 2 weeks. I'll go through what that's going to be, when that's going to be at the end of the webinar today as well. So this is the advertising platform Ads Manager within Facebook. If you have never been to this area or have never been to your advertising account, you can easily access it by going to your Facebook business page. In the top right-hand corner, you would select the drop-down arrow, and one of the items will be Create Ads. And if you click on that, it's going to take you into Ads Manager and allow you to go through this process. In the big hamburger menu here at the top, there's a bunch of frequently used items, and then there's all tools. These are all available to you as soon as you set up an advertising account. It's free to set up an advertising account. And while there's a lot of things here, they all kind of make a lot of sense, and they can be very, very helpful. The one that I want to talk about first is pixels under Measure and Report. So as I said, you need to set up a Facebook pixel and then install that on your website. So what we're going to do first is I'm just going to show you how to add that Facebook pixel. I have one here for our fictitious Berry clothing company, but if I wanted to set up another one, I could under Add Data Source, Facebook pixel. And it's going to ask me, what do I want to name the pixel? The name of the pixel has absolutely no meaning. There's no need to fret about this. Call it whatever you want. What I typically suggest is putting in the URL of the website that you're going to use for that, or just the title of your business. So I'm going to call this our second pixel. I'm going to click on Create. This was going to generate that. You can see it's been made there in the background, and it's going to give me some information about the code that I need to install. As much as code can be very difficult for people and can also be a little bit scary to jump into, there's a few things that are going to make this really easy. One, they have a bunch of integrations with different products. So if you use any of these, if you use Wix, WooCommerce, WordPress, Squarespace, Magento, Shopify, anything, you can follow the instructions. They're really simple and really easy to go in and just add that in. If you don't use one of those tools and you have a custom website, you can manually install the code yourself, and it will actually give you exactly where you need to go and where to put that particular code. Some examples you can follow through. Lastly, if you have a developer that can do this for you, you can literally just drop their email in and email those instructions to a developer. So that will go to your developer, they will get the code, and they will know where to put it, and they will drop that into your theme in the right spot. So that's all that you need to do to generate a pixel and get it installed on your website. Once it's installed, you can do a bunch of different things and have that accessible here. You can create a custom audience, and you can create custom conversion events related to that particular pixel. So custom audience is based on what people are doing on your website. We're going to talk more in depth on that in the Facebook webinar 2.0 in October. So let's go back to Ads Manager and let's walk through the typical setup of a complete ad. Don't worry about these error messages here at the top. This is a dormant account and they don't let us create ads, but we're actually going to be able to create one. We just won't be able to save it. So when you're on this page, you will have the create button here in the green. And this will take you into the creation system. You may end up being put into what's called the quick creation as well. And this is what it looks like. And for anybody that has boosted a post before, this is very similar to what you would have seen in a particular boosting system, where it's asking you some of this information and making it really quick for you to go through it. I typically prefer to use the guided creation and typically ask our clients to go through this system, mainly because it gives you a lot more options and it gives you a lot more power, as well as the ability to create multiple ad sets and multiple ads all at the same time. So you're not having to go back and duplicate and copy and paste and all these different things. First thing that you need to do is select a campaign objective. And that objective is going to help guide you through the rest of the advertising setup. There are three different kind of areas here: awareness, consideration, and conversion. Awareness is great for getting information out to people that don't really know anything about your business, that don't necessarily know what's happening, as well as just reaching out to a lot of people. They're not designed to get clicks. They're designed to just be in front of people so that people see them, recognize them, and understand that information. Consideration is what's used to drive traffic to websites, app installs, get more video views, generate leads, as well as get people to message you on Facebook. This is all about trying to convert people before they buy a product. So it's about trying to get people to go to your website, go to this particular page, sign up for a newsletter, all those different pieces. The last one is conversion, and conversion is trying to get people to actually make those sales. So going into and actually turning into a subscriber on my website, or going in and purchasing a product on my website, or deciding to buy a gift card, as well as looking at having them come in and do store visits. Store visits is a really neat one because you can actually track people, how they interact with your particular store, and using some kind of new pieces of technology. Again, we're not going to talk about that today, but we will talk about it in the next webinar. So once you've decided kind of what your objective is, typically this is going to be a traffic-based ads. These are, 90% of the ads that go through on Facebook are traffic-based ads, trying to get people to take a look at your particular landing page on your particular website to try to get them interested in that product or that service that you offer. So we're going to click on traffic, and we're going to go down to the campaign name, and we're going to call this Family Farmers Market. We're going to then go up and say set up ad account. This will only happen the first time that you create an ad account, and it's going to ask you for where you are, what currency you want, and the time zone. This stuff all needs to be exact. You only have one shot at setting this up, and you cannot change the country, the currency, or the time zone after you create your ad account. So now we're going to get into the kind of more expansive part of creating an ad. So the ad set area allows you to do a bunch of different things. And again, as I spoke about it before, this is where you're going to do all of that targeting information: is who's going to see it, where they're going to see it, when they're going to see it, and how much you're going to spend for them to see it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to change the name of this. So like I said, we're going to say moms from 25 to 45, and we're going to say local, and we'll say Belleville, your farms in Belleville. And we're going to scroll down. Our traffic is going to be to a website address. We'll set that in a little bit, but basically we're choosing a website traffic. Down below we have audience, and creating an audience, we're going to add a bunch of information in. We'll talk about custom audiences and saved audiences more in the next webinar. For the time being, you can just ignore that. First thing we're going to need to do though is set the location. Because this specific ad set is targeted to locally to Belleville, we're going to change that from a Canada-wide location, and we're just going to type in Belleville. When we do that, we're going to be able to choose Belleville here in the list, and it's going to give us a little radius of how far away we can be. We want to stay a little bit more local because I'm not sure that people that are 25 miles away are going to actually come out to our farmers market. So I'm going to stay within 10 miles. That's a reasonable distance for somebody to drive for a farmer's market. You'll notice that, for example, down here, Prince Edward County and some of these areas are not taken into this. You could easily add another area here if you wanted to. So let's say we wanted to drop a pin down here and make sure we got all of Sandbanks and all that area. We can drop another pin in, and it'll add another circle and just include all those people as well. You can also type in more addresses as you'd like. Further down, we're going to say the age, and we're going to change this to 25 to 45. We're going to say gender is women. We're going to skip over languages, and we're going to go to detailed targeting. The detailed targeting area allows you to include people who match at least one of the criteria that are there. You can also expand that so that it's including people that match one of those areas as well as match one of the areas. So I'll explain what that is. What we might want to do is make sure this is only going out to parents of kids. So we'll go in and we'll say browse, and we can look at demographics, interests, and behaviors. Demographics, specifically, we're going to look for parents. And under parents, we're going to choose the ones that make sense. So new parents, parents with preschoolers, parents with early school age children, preteens, toddlers, and maybe teenagers. We might not want to put teenagers in, but we'll put that in. So these are people that typically have kids at home with them that would be interested in this particular event. What I'm going to do is say narrow the audience. So now what I have is include people who match at least one of the following. So we know they're going to be a parent, and they must also match at least one of the following. And this is where I can put all sorts of interests in. So I can say farmers market, and that's an interest. I can continue to type in, and I can get suggestions as well. So when I click on suggestions, it's going to give me all of these different things that it thinks are related to that particular interest. So I'm just going to drag a bunch of these in. Fresh produce, health and wellness, healthy eating, sustainable agriculture. So these are all things that people that would be interested in it might go into. As you can see on the right-hand side, I now have some information about the potential reach. Let me just scroll up so you can see that. So we have our audience size here, the estimated daily results in terms of the reach and the link clicks. You'll see that our little arrow is kind of pointing over here at specific. It's because we've made this very, very specific. That can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. What I'm going to do instead of looking at all of these interests, I'm going to get rid of all of them. And you'll see that the arrow has now bumped back up into the green area. My audience is defined, but it's not overly broad and it's not overly specific. I'm going to stick with just demographics that are parents, knowing that this is going to go to all parents in this area. Further down, you have the option of placements, and you'll see new ads in marketplace. That's a new kind of piece. Typically, you have two options. You can say automatic placements, or you can edit placements. Edit placements allows you to select all the different areas that you can potentially go into and uncheck them. Typically, for basic advertising, I highly recommend just leaving it as automatic placements. Facebook does a good job of figuring out where things are going and where they're seeing the most engagement. Finally, at the bottom of the ad set, we have budget and schedule. There's two types of budgets, daily budgets and lifetime budgets. I highly recommend using lifetime budgets and being able to set. The reason why lifetime budgets are a good option is because you know that you're never going to spend more than that. Regardless of if you leave this on running for however long, you're never going to spend more than that $50 lifetime budget. If you set a daily budget of $10 and you accidentally let it run for 14 days, you're going to see a $140 bill. So lifetime budgets just make sure that you don't accidentally spend too much money. You can then set the schedule. So we're going to say, we're going to start this ad starting tomorrow, and we're going to run it until Sunday. And we're going to run it till Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, because that's when the farmers market begins, and we're not going to really have anybody seeing ads and coming out to it. So we're going to spend $50 over that time frame. And you'll see the estimated daily results is about 780 to 2,300 people reached and 10 to 56 link clicks. So that's great. That's a bunch of people that are going to see this ad and potentially go to our website and see what's going on with that particular farmers market. Below are some of the more advanced features, and we'll talk about a lot of them in the next webinar as well. But for the most part, this is all going to be staying exactly as is. So now that we're past the ad set, we're going to go into the ads. The ad set has determined who we're going to target. We're going to target moms from 25 to 45 years old with kids at home with them. There's lots of different ways that we can advertise to them in terms of the ads that we're going to show. So you can see carousel, single image, single video, a slideshow, as well as a collection. You can also add what's called an instant experience. And what that means is that you can almost put a kind of landing page built right into Facebook, and it's very, very quick to load, and it shows up for them immediately. All of these options are available, and I encourage you to go and play around with every single one of them and see what you like and what you think will work. We're also going to talk about A/B testing in the next webinar, which is going to talk more about how to use this platform to actually get the most out of it. And that includes doing something called A/B testing and seeing what works, what doesn't, and continuously iterating on those different things. For the time being, what we're going to do is we're going to set up single image ads. We could easily set up a slideshow or upload a video or set up a carousel as well. But for the time being, we're going to stick with the single image. When you create a single image ad, you have the ability to actually add multiple ads at the same time. So what we're going to do is we're going to upload some images. So I'm going to say just upload 2 stock photos that I grabbed of farms. Let's see if it's going to take one of them. Okay, my images are too small, so we're going to go and get some free stock images instead. So we're going to say free stock images, and these are all powered by Shutterstock. You will not see a watermark when they go out onto your ad, and they're free to use. You do not have to pay to use them. They can certainly allow you to buy them off so that you can use them on your website or something else, but to use them in ads, it's 100% free. So I'm just going to put in farm here, and we can go in and grab a few different images. So here's a nice one. Here's maybe some vegetables and another image of a farm. And you'll see I've selected 3. And what this is actually going to let me do is create 3 different image-based ads. So I'll confirm that. It's going to spin there for a second, and it's going to add those all in. Scrolling down further, you'll see here's all the information for your actual ads and a preview of that ad. The website URL here on the left is going to be, I'm just going to put in berryclothing.com as an example. It's not a real address, so it's not going to work. You'll see at the top we have select the link type for ad. So we're going to say it's a website. We can also link this directly to a Facebook event if you wanted to use the Facebook event as your landing page. So maybe on your business page, you've created a Facebook event for the farmers market this Sunday. You could link directly to that instead if you'd like. Text here. So we're going to put in some text. And that's going to show up above our ad here. If we want to see what it looks like elsewhere, so not in the mobile newsfeed, maybe we want to see what the desktop newsfeed is going to look like, we can see that there. We can scroll down and see what it's going to look like in the right-hand column, as well as we can see what it's going to look like for different ads as well. So with our different images that we've set up. Focusing on the desktop newsfeed, let's take a look at some of the other things that we can customize here as well. So we have some text. We can also add a headline. And where it says this is the headline that's been added. We can also change what button shows up here as well. So right now it says learn more, but we can choose from some of these other options. So get offer, download, contact us, book now, apply now, send message, request time. All of these things are available for you here. Learn more is typically the one that I would select for this type of ad though. Further down, we have a advanced options area, and I always recommend taking a look at these and adding things here because it just gives you more information in front of the user. So for example, the display link can be whatever you want. So you can say berryclothing.com/farmers. Okay. And I don't know why Berry Clothing would be hosting a farmers market, but you'll see that that now shows up berryclothing.com/farmersmarket. And this URL can be different than the URL that you actually send people to. The reason why you would want that is maybe you're going to track people, or you have a different page system. So the farmers market page is nested 3 different folders down. For whatever reason, you can set it so that your website URL here that you're actually linking to is not what actually gets shown. Further, you can add a news link, newsfeed link description, which shows up underneath the headline at the bottom here. Keep in mind though that this is not always going to show up, and depending on the different types of ads. So mobile newsfeed, it does show up, but you can see it's a lot smaller. And on things like the desktop right column, it won't show up at all. It'll only show up that first text area here. Down at the bottom here, we have the ability to turn on the Facebook pixel, and that's going to track people and make sure that as people click on their ads, they're being tracked through our pixel that we've set up. And then as we scroll down to the bottom, we can confirm our particular ad. This is not going to let me confirm because our account is deactivated and we don't have a credit card associated with it. But once you confirm that, it will show up for you, and you'll be able to continue with creating that ad and it showing up in your ads manager. A few things to note here before we jump into Q&A as well. You can always confirm an ad and say, let's start this ad, and then immediately jump back to your ads manager and turn it off. When you turn off an ad, it does not spend any more money, and you only pay Facebook advertising for the money that gets spent. So if you spend $10 and you've initially set the lifetime budget for that ad of $50, and you turn that ad off, you are not going to be charged $50. You are only going to be charged for the money that has actually been spent so far. So you can always turn ads off if they're not working, or if they're not returning results. You can turn them off and there's no penalty moving forward depending on how much you've selected for your budget. The other thing you can do is you can close this window at any time, and it'll ask you if you want to save to draft. So you can say close and save to draft, and it'll automatically save a draft for you. I don't think it's going to let me do it because I'm not able to actually create ads, but basically this would create a draft for us. So you can see here right now, our campaign is here, it's in draft, and the budget is using an ad set budget. If we go into that campaign, we can see that ad set. And if we see that ad set, we can then see those 3 image-based ads that we've created here as well. So that's all along here in these little tabs as well that you can jump back and forth. You could easily go in and edit anything in either of these areas as well. So from there, I want to jump into questions and answers. I went a little bit longer than I would have liked to, so we only have about 10 minutes for Q&A. So if people have questions, please drop them into the Q&A area in the right-hand side, and I will go through them. I can show other pieces within the advertising platform. I can answer any specific questions as well related to your business. If there aren't any questions, okay, here we go, we have one. So we have ads that ran this season, but are not sure how to look at the results or how to understand them. Okay, that's a really good question. So understanding what actually happened with an ad and how it's working or how it worked is really, really important to making sure that you're spending money in a way that makes sense. So in the ads manager, let me just share my screen here again. In the ads manager, you'll see campaigns, ad sets, and ads. And in each of these areas, it's actually going to show you some of the results of that. So things like results, reach, impressions, cost per result, budget. You can also add columns however you'd like. And there's a lot of different options here. We're talking probably hundreds of different options in terms of what you would want to put in here. But this can be some information on how they are working for you. Depending on how you have something like the Facebook pixel set up, you can also determine the conversion rate as well as how much that conversion is worth. If you know everybody that signs up for coming out to an event on your website is worth about $50 to you, you can attach that to that sign up form on your website, push that information to Facebook, and it'll show you that return on investment. So maybe you put in $50 to get 10 people to sign up, so $50 turned into $500. Along this line, basically the results, reach, impressions, and cost per result are going to be the key indicators. So you can see how many people actually clicked on your particular ad, how many people were reached by it, how many impressions there were, and how much that was going to cost you for each of the results. So the number of times your ad received a conversion. Reach versus impressions is how many times did it show up on somebody's website in front of somebody. Reach is how many people have we actually gone to, and reach is always going to be less than the impressions. So reach, you might have reached 100 people, but you might have 150 impressions, meaning that people got it more than once. Some people got it more than once. For a more kind of thorough look into all of those different pieces, you would have to look further into reviewing those areas. So the next question that I see is when a guest comments on an ad and we reply, does that impact these? It does. So the engagement definitely will impact ads and how far they reach. I highly recommend always replying to any kind of comment that you get through an ad or through any other channel within Facebook. It's really important to try to engage people through that, because ads that have comments and have people engaging with them will have a much further reach for a lot less money. If you can get people to comment a lot on your ads, that's going to help actually promote them further. And that engagement is just really helpful to getting that ad to actually perform well. And another question is, how accurate is Facebook for choosing demos related to specific careers? So say you were looking at interior designers or restaurant owners. Great question. I would say they're pretty accurate. At the same time, there's really no way of you ever knowing how accurate that they really are. The only thing that you can do is add in all of those different demographics or add in all those different interests and play around with them to see what's working and what's not. That's where the power of multiple ad sets comes in, because you can create one ad set and only aim it at these specific interests, and then create another ad set that's only aimed at another set of specific interests or demographics, and work them back and forth and see which one's actually working, which one's not working, and constantly tweak to see which one gets a better result. I hope that answers everybody's questions. Like I said, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to myself or to Lindsay or anybody else at RTO9 to get some more information about those areas. I'm going to quickly talk about as well the next webinar, which will be on October 4th, so Thursday, October 4th. It'll be at the same time, 2:00 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. What we're going to talk about in that is much more advanced Facebook pieces. So we're going to talk about advanced tracking and adding conversion events to a Facebook pixel. We're going to talk about custom audiences and how to use them. We're going to talk quickly about offline tracking and using beacons to tell when people are actually inside your store. We're going to look at testing your ads with A/B testing. We'll look at Facebook Analytics versus Google Analytics. as well as look at product catalogs and other data sources that can help you create dynamic-based ads based on how people are interacting with your website. So all those topics, definitely a little bit more advanced than what we covered today, but definitely if you enjoyed what we talked about today, it's something that I would highly recommend taking the time to tune into in 2 weeks. So if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to leave it at that. I will leave the webinar open here for the next few minutes, but have a great rest of your day, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us.